MIDE, please. Okay, and you won't remember. So what you need to do is to start looking at and understanding what you are seeing underwater. This is Favorinus nudibranch. That is the egg mass of Hexabranchus, which is the Spanish dancer, and it eats eggs. So if you see ribbons of eggs underwater, have a close look, and you may see maybe lucky enough to see a Favorinus eating on the eggs. Okay, so we'll keep it loose and easy. If you have questions, please do ask. Just raise up your hands and wave to me, and I'll try to answer them, yeah, anytime. Okay. Right, how do you classify nudibranchs? Okay, like all creatures, living things on earth and plants, you have got classification. And it's binomial nomenclature. And it's done with kingdom Animalia. How many people know how many kingdoms are there? Plant kingdom, animal, lagi? No. Bacteria, fungi. So there's several, like 7 classifications, yeah? So we're concerned with the animal kingdom, okay? And phylum is your snails, mollusca. So they are phylum mollusca, all snails, right? And nudibranch is snail, underwater snail, right? Then you have your class, gastropods, okay? Subclass of fistobranchs cover almost everything you see crawling, okay? And then the nudibranch is actually the order. So when people say, I've seen a nudibranch, it is actually the order that you're talking about. Then there is a Dorids, which is the largest number of nudibranchs, okay? And that's a suborder. So family, then you talk about Chromodorius, or they rename it to Begonioblancus and so on. Then you have got genus and species, which is the actual name you identify, right? So if you see a Chromodorius bullocky, the purple one, that's genus and species. The way you remember it is kangaroos play cello, orangutans fiddle, gorillas sing. If you key that into Google, you find this straight away. Okay, so that's how you remember it. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, okay? Okay, just sidetracking, people frequently post flatworms. So flatworms are not nudibranchs. They don't have the gills and they don't have the rhinophores that stick out in front. So if you remember just now, kingdom, yeah? Below that is phylum. Flatworms are already different phylum. So right at the top, they branch off to something else, okay? So they have scientific names, right? So flatworms, just remember, flatworms are not nudibranchs. Okay, so this is just an example. Okay, it's not specifically something. It's just an example of how you would name nudibranchs and what comes under it, right? So those are all taken in local waters. Bubble shells you find in Tengol, right? See bubble shells in other places as well. You have the tail slugs. One tail is always shorter than the other. Then you have got sea hares. Sometimes they're quite big. You find it mostly in night dives, yeah? Plurobranchs, which is a plate-sized, red-colored, also comes out at night, right? Elysias, also quite different. You can't see the gills are at the sides. So Elysias, that's a much desired, Elysia, the colorful one. I can't remember the full name, okay? And finally, you have the nudibranchs, the true sea slugs. So, when you name it, people frequently put both capitals, right? It's actually, the second name is always small letters. right? So the genus, capital. Species name is always lowercase, right? And usually if it's named after people who discovered them, the I is for a male person. Bullocky is Bullock's Chromodoris. AE for females. Chromodoris NA, Ans Chromodoris, yeah? And then you'll find the author's name and then the date. That's how you find it on the internet. Okay, so nudibranchs, the sea slugs that you find and love so much. And I actually found so many shops selling small models of nudibranchs. Beautiful, well done. Okay, they're the largest group, over 2005. Most have been discovered, some in the 1800s. Not all is recently discovered. They've been discovered years ago. They've been studied years ago. Many shapes and sizes will go into them. And short life cycle. They actually live about less than a year. Okay, so they hatch, they eat and mate, lay eggs and die. And they can eat each other. They can eat the single cell algae. They eat poisons. They eat sponges, all kinds of things, right? So the suborders are your dorids, aeolids, arminids, and the dendrodorids. Okay, so the dorids are the largest, right? They're usually your nudibranch shape, yeah? Flat-bodied with a skirt, gills at the back. So if you look at the back, the flower thing, that's the gills. That's how they breathe. If you look at a garden snail and you break it, you find the gills inside the shell, yeah? So the gills at the back and the anus is actually in the center of the gill. So that's quite bizarre, okay? Foods, you have everything. They eat everything. Sponges, worms, eat each other, okay? Okay, anatomy, how you shape the nudibranch, yeah? The gills are external, right? There's a bouquet like a flower. Flaps, sometimes plates, right? The tentacles at the front, that's how they feel their food. Usually they have no proper eyes. They have light sensors, the black dots, okay, on the body and the front of the body. You then have got the rhinophores, the ones that stick out the ears, right? Those are usually layered. They are chemoreceptors. They smell the food. And they can smell from quite the distance away, okay? The reaction to light, you do put a torch on it, it will actually react. So it has light sensors, okay? But not proper eyes, right? So if you see the tentacles, rhinophores, they don't explore the ground. The oral tentacles touch the ground, yeah, and get the scent of food. So that's a diagram lifted off the internet, a book actually. The four types, yeah, the arminids, you find the long shape like a torpedo, and they come out a lot at night. I've seen some in the daytime, but mostly at night. They eat sea pens. Your dorids are your usual nudibranch shape, what you expect the nudibranch to look like. It's got rhinophores, and it's got the gills at the back, yeah? Then you have the aeolids, which is your furry ones, very pretty. They eat poisons. They store it in the serrata at the back. So if the fish were to bite it, it gets a nasty shock from the toxins stored in the serrata, right? So they don't actually break down the toxins. They store it at the back. The rest are dendrodorids. Find okay that kind of shape. And another dorid, this one, right? You have got nodules on it, right? So generally, these are the shapes that you would look for. So in spotting nudibranchs underwater, later on I talk about it, you have got many things to look at. The sea is like full of life. So how do you spot them? So you look for food source and you look for the shapes. And that's the brain will identify, oh, that's a nudibranch, right? But you have 400 or 500 things to identify. Whoops. Yeah, that's skip one. Okay, that's another letter of the internet again, yeah? So you can see the way that they're shaped, right? That's your usual Pikachu. So we have spotted ones, we have dusky ones, we have the bright yellow ones, right? That's your arminates, yeah? So you can't actually see gills at the back. The gills are at the side. Yeah. And again, the tips store toxins. Yeah. They're quite poisonous to fish. So the fish will learn not to bite any nudibranchs. Nervous system. They do have a brain. Right. It's a mess and it's above their throats. That's why they keep looking for food. Right, so the brain is very close to the mouth. There's 2 plates, right? And they do have hearing organs. So the scientists have actually dissected nudibranchs. Again, the anatomy, yeah? So that's nudibranch shape. You can see several organs inside the body. So they do have proper organs. Some are transparent, yeah. That one is showing the head veal, right? And then they lift it up and down as they're moving along. Very pretty. Some nudibranchs swim. Okay, sometimes night dives especially, you get the hexabranchus swimming. But I've also seen the small tiny ones, what do they call it? Batwing. They swim, right? The small tiny ones. So be careful, when you go too near, they just swim away and straight into the sand and you can find it, okay? So the batwings are the very minute, tiny ones, which everyone's looking for nowadays. So Dorids, generally, the different shapes, sizes, completely black, very difficult to spot, okay? Some with nodules sticking out the back, all very pretty, yeah? The picta, I've seen Indonesia, not so many Malaysian. Malaysians got the Tachycera sp species, which is the dusky ones. We do have the yellow ones, the bright yellow Pikachu. Okay. Purple-lined Nembrotas are big ones, right? They tend to be in the shallow waters. And these are all just different Nembrota species. You usually find the bright green ones with orange fringes. Those are the Cobariana. Then you have the completely green nodules at the back. So these are all available. I think locally you can find them. Yeah. Gymnodoris eats other nudibranchs. They tend to be very big, right? A couple of inches across and easy to spot. But a good photograph would be to get one eating another nudibranch. And if you see it moving fast, it's following the slime tracks of another nudibranch. It's finding it and trying to eat it. So quite a sight, yeah. I have never got one eating another one yet. Okay. You have the Agrigidae suborder, and they usually like plastic toys. They're not flexible. Quite hard nudibranchs. Oops, missed one. Yeah. Hexabranchus, as I mentioned, big egg ribbons, usually about a couple of inches across. Worthwhile looking at it closely, see if any nudibranchs are eating the eggs. Hexabranchus tend to be very big, but there are also not just the sanguineus, which comes out a lot at night, and size of a dinner plate. There's also the smaller ones, right? And common name is Spanish dancer. That one's from Tenggol, yeah. And you see the dates they've been discovered and described: 1864, 1877. Oops. You find a lot of these, Halgerdas, yeah, Tessellata, and this is just to describe the full nudibranch, and they're not artistically shot, but this one's from Tenggol. You can see if you look closely, it's very beautiful patterns, and the colors, it's just amazing. Where was this? This was at Lost World, Tenggol. 30 meters. They're quite deep, yeah. These guys are quite deep. Okay, the Chromodoris is the common ones. So you find all these normal species. So koi would be Coe's Chromodoris, yeah. Cunei and Bullock's Chromodoris, NA, okay. So these are named after people. This one's Africana, okay. Other Chromodoris, you have the Glossodoris, which can be pure white, can trend towards yellow. And then you have the hard ones, which is quite common. So people get quite bored with looking at the hard ones, so you point it out to a diver and he says, yeah, I've seen that before, yeah. Okay, so these are not very popular, but they are all over the place. Some, like the Ocellata, is quite rare, right, with the rings around the back. Okay, so the beautiful ones, the aeolids, yeah. So you find the Flabellinas with the furry top. That's nice to take a picture of or observe, right? It can be quite big. Some are up to 15 cm. They move quite fast, right? And they feed on soft corals. So if you look for corals along the seawall, under the ledges, you can find this species. Aeolids, some of this is Australian, yeah. Again, same kind of structure. If you look at the Phylodesmium, there's a misspelling there. Phylodesmium, the serrata breaks off easily, and they use it as a defense mechanism. So do not go near or touch because it comes off. They release the serrata as a defense mechanism. Other interesting ones, bright red. These are usually on pillars. So you go jetties and all that, you find the Fidianas along the pillars of the jetty or seawall. The Longichurum actually looks like a coral, quite big and quite tall, and they're what they call solar nudibranchs. When they're small, they feed, but when they're bigger, they rely on the algae at the back, the serrata. The algae gets sunlight and gets starch, and the nudibranch lives on the starch. Okay, so it solar-powered nudibranch. The briarum, another common one, but again, briarum, you would look for sponges. They feed on sponges. So black sponges, gray-colored sponges, you find briarum on them. That one, stellata. If you look at leather coral, it looks like a flap, right? And it moves. It's quite thick, but it looks like a leather, piece of leather underwater, leather coral. If you lift it up, you'll see that underneath. So you won't spot it unless you know where to look for it. Now, arminates tend to come out at night. They feed on actual sea pens and bryozoans. Okay, so again, certain species of nudibranchs, you need to do night dive to get them. Tritons, very funny. Okay, if you look at that, very strange looking, yeah. Furry ones, I have not found that one only in Bali. Have not found the rest, probably not looking hard enough, yeah. How do they defend themselves? This is, they taste foul to the fish, yeah. And then bright colors as a warning. Then they mimic the coloration also. They also do camouflage. Some of like the batwings, they burrow in sand, right? They unfold flaps to make themselves appear bigger. They also absorb the stinging cells, right, whole, and keep it in the body. So that's quite a unique form of defense. And they also, like the just now the briarum, they shed off pieces of their anatomy. Oops. Okay, so that one, it will just puff up and appear bigger when it's attacked or bitten by a fish. Yeah. So that's how they feed. They have a rasping tongue. So the tongue basically licks up the food. And sometimes you find if they're feeding on the blue ascidians in the sea, look at how they're feeding. They actually scrape off a layer of the ascidian, and then they insert their tongue inside, and they start feeding it by licking it up. So they actually have teeth, but it's on their tongue. Okay, that's a picture, yeah? So that's the ascidian behind. You find they've inverted their tongue. So this has got teeth on the tongue, right? And then they lick up the juices inside. That's how they feed. Yeah? So if you take close-up pictures, so that's a Nembrota. So it was big enough for me to get a good picture of the tongue that's inverted and inserted into the bryozoan and then licking it up. Again, the original picture, yeah? So this is eating the eggs, and you can see the eggs, those small nodules, so like 1 million eggs inside the ribbon, yeah? So it feeds on the eggs, actually swallows up the eggs. And normally, if you find egg ribbon with the nudibranch eating it, there's usually several of them. So look closely, look underneath, look behind. Okay, so the ribbons are folding and in a circle. So look behind, spend some time looking, and then you may find these nudibranchs eating. Yeah. Reproduction is interesting. Nudibranchs are hermaphrodites, so they have both organs. They cannot self-reproduce. So they need another nudibranch to reproduce, yeah? So they mate, and you get good pictures of them. Those are Hypsilodoris, and that's a sea hare mating. They impregnate each other. They actually swap sperm packets, right? Both will lay eggs. That's interesting. Both lay eggs. Exchange egg packets and both lay eggs, right? And say sea hares form orgies. Yeah, okay. Now, that's an interesting picture found by my friend here on a seawall in Rajawali, Tenggol. You can actually see the egg packets, the white egg packets being swapped, right? So they connect. The appendage is always on the right side of the nudibranch. So if you've seen two nudibranchs side by side, they're not mating. It has to be head to tail and on the right. And then they will sense each other and extend the appendage and then exchange egg packets. So that's a good photograph. And again, you can see them. This is their food, the blue ascidians. So we look for the food, you find a nudibranch. Yeah? So always look for the food source. Whoops. Okay, so when they lay eggs, it hatches into embryonic. So that's about a week, right? It does not hatch into a small nudibranch. It goes embryo first, and then it becomes, it's a free-swimming larva, right? They normally would lay near food source. So the larva will go and find the food, land on it, and then metamorphosis. The shell disappears. There's usually a small shell. Okay, that's why it's a snail. Then it becomes a juvenile nudibranch. And again, it says life cycle tied directly to food source. Okay. The egg masses, that's Hexabranchus Spanish dancer. You can see the egg mass is laying, right? From what I've seen, the egg mass comes out of a slit on the body. So if you look closely, where is it coming from? It lays eggs by the side of the body. Yeah, and you'll find this on stones, rocks, hard coral. Again, now you can look up on the internet for references, further references. You can look up on books. You can buy books. I've got about a dozen books because my time was before internet was available and ChatGPT, so I can't ask. So it was finding out and identifying them. Yeah. Okay. We have a booth here. I'm with CMAS Malaysia, MSAC, Malayan Subaqua Club, because we were formed in 1959, before it was Malaysia, so we're Malayan. So anytime, just drop in, ask me questions about nudibranchs. Yep. So I'll finish off by how to find them. The favorite question, everyone says, how do you find all these nudibranchs? Yeah. So you have a mass of things. Sorry, it's jumping. We need a new remote. So underwater, you have a mass of things to look at. You have sponges, you have soft coral, you have hard coral, you have rocks, right? These are anthea swarming around. So your brain trying to process how to find. So what you have is in your mind, if you're looking for a specific nudibranch shape, color, right? Then you start to process and then start spotting. So your DMs who can find nudibranchs, their brain is programmed, they spot. Okay, so ignore fish, ignore corals, right? So you start looking for shapes, yeah? And then knowing where to find them. Some nudibranchs and some other macro creatures, they they're on algae, they're on sponges, they're on different food source. Yeah. Okay. So again, my favorite diving spot, Tanggol. They have got bubble shells, and they're shallow. So bubble shells come shallow, 10, 15 meters. Yeah, they're not deep. And very beautiful, so far we found quite a few species of bubble shells, and you can find it, even though it's quite rare. A weird one, you can see, it's a phallodesmal, same as that hairy one just now, yeah, the bryrum. But this is a pinnatum where it looks like a coral, right? Unless you actually slow down, look at it, and then you find these tentacles, yeah? So the indication is the tentacles at the front, yeah? And then you find, oh, it's a nudibranch, though it looks like a coral, yeah? Your beautiful Elysia, feeding the sapsuckers, so they feed on sap of corals, yeah? You can see I took that 2011. Your usual Pikachu. This is again Coral Garden, Tanggol. Lots of them at 17 meters, soft coral patch, and lots of nudibranchs feed on soft coral patches. So you find a variety of things, including the batwings. Yeah, they're all there sitting on it. And this is actually sitting on a coral. It's eating it. So although it appears to be suspended, it's actually clinging on to one small strand of coral. It's food. Non-nudibranch but ophistobranch, yeah. This is the swallowtail slug, the Calidonurus. Again, you find a lot of them, and seasonal. Yeah, some seasons it comes out. And you can see some nudibranchs, if you just look at it, it's not really relevant, but when you go closer, very beautiful. You know, it's got like these snowdrops all over the body. So that's your normal Wieland's Chromodoris. Yeah, almost finishing now. Lined Coryphelia. It looks almost like your Flabellina. And the much desired Flabellina, again, undersides of rocks and the wall. Yeah, they're always hanging around there. Okay, thank you very much. I'm in there. If you have any more questions, let me know. Okay, any questions from the audience? No questions? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Ahmad, Zaki, for the presentation. And of course, moving along to our next segment commencing shortly, we shall be having the panel discussion on women in diving. And the topic for today is called Diving in Current, yeah? Right, we'll be having our moderator, and the name is Nurul Yazid, and it's all about underwater photographer and resort owner. Nurul is an award-winning professional underwater photographer who has been featured in leading diving and wildlife publications around the globe. She's also the co-owner of Triton Bay Divers, an eco-resort nestled in one of the most remote and pristine corners of West Papua, where she's navigating